Today, I'm bringing you 10 fragrances that used to be hyped by the fragrance community, but then it looks like everyone has forgotten about them, which is a big mistake. If you are interested in some iconic perfumes that shaped the fragrance community, then just keep on watching. Hi there, welcome to my channel. My name is Diana and I am a fragrance enthusiast who has been collecting fragrances over the last 5 years. Here on this channel we talk about all fragrances. It doesn't matter if it's niche, designer or Middle Eastern. The ultimate goal is just to smell good and feel good. So let's start with an icon from the early 2000s. It is Kenzo Flower. This is the original, which was released exactly in 2000, and it has been an icon in the floral powdery perfume category. In the meantime, due to the success of this perfume, Kenzo has released over 20 flankers. Well, I eventually stopped counting on Fragrantica because I got a little bit overwhelmed. But Flower. It features the notes of Bulgarian rose, violet, jasmine, vanilla, white musk, and incense. But this perfume basically just screams soft femininity. It is a soft, creamy, but yet powdery, very floral, very elegant. Some people would say that this scent profile is a little bit dated. However, I would rather call it vintage or sophisticated. And to be honest, I clearly remember also that Demi Rawling used to talk about this perfume before the whole frag community exploded, and she really used to love this fragrance. It is just a great everyday perfume that smells very approachable and very inviting. It is like a soft white blanket that had some powdery fabric conditioner left on it, the best way possible. It can be a year-round perfume, but I think it will especially shine in this time of the year. Then if we are still staying in the powdery floral category, then Poudree from Narciso Rodriguez would also deserve much more hype. This one is more musky, slightly bit less powdery in my opinion, and also the powderiness comes from different notes. This is a bit of a newer creation. This was released in 2016, so 10 years ago, and it is definitely a more modern take on a powdery scent profile. It features the notes of jasmine, which is a very clean smelling soapy jasmine here, also Bulgarian rose, orange blossom, musk, and tonka beans in the base, which will provide that sweet powderiness to this perfume. The musk here is very prominent, so you really have to like the typical Narciso Rodriguez musk to enjoy this perfume. It is a very beautiful, also year-round perfume, perfect for the office or more formal occasions as well, especially when you expect people also sitting very close around you. I use both this one and Kenzo Flower on days when I have a lot of meetings with my team members and I would like to wear something, that will not disturb anyone. Moving from powdery florals into something a little bit more exotic and lush, and let's talk about Micallef, which is a French niche house that I feel does not really get enough hype anymore. And specifically, I would like to talk about their Ylang In Gold. The notes here include ylang ylang, caramel, rose, jasmine, sandalwood, amber, and vanilla. Now, I know that ylang ylang note can divide people. Some people find it too heady, too tropical, even almost medicinal. But here, it is handled so beautifully and so carefully. The warm base of sandalwood, amber, and vanilla wraps around it completely and softening it into something that feels very lush, sensual, rather than overwhelming. It smells like holding a gorgeous bouquet of tropical flowers on a warm summer evening. However, I keep saying that I also love spraying this perfume in winter time. It has that texture and creamy thickness to really warm you up on a breezy winter day. And as a bonus, the bottle is just absolutely stunning. Very elegant, luxurious looking. This is the kind of perfume that makes you feel like €1 million, $1 million from the moment you spray it. And that is exactly why we should talking about it much, much more than we are currently. Now, if there is one fragrance that had the most spectacular rise and then the most unexpected disappearance from conversations, then it has to be Montale's Intense Cafe. This was released in 2012 and had such a huge, massive moment in the fragrance community around 2018, 2019, 2020, and it was on absolutely every best of list, every recommendations, Fragrantica, every YouTube videos. And then it just completely vanished from the conversations. The notes are here rose, coffee, vanilla, musk, and amber. The coffee here is roasted, rich, and slightly sweet, and the way it blends into the rose in the heart is just, yeah, it's just sweet, syrupy, and perfect. You would not really think that coffee and rose would be best friends, but somehow Montale made it work beautifully. It really smells romantic, sexy, warm, and cozy at the same time. It performs best in cooler months, but honestly, I wear this one also year round because it is just simply too good to be seasonal. Just be careful how much you spray and you will be fine. And staying in niche territory, let's talk about Oriana from Parfums de Marly. This was released in 2021. Now, Parfums de Marly as a house absolutely does get talked about. But the conversations nowadays almost always go into Delina, Valaya, and somehow Oriana quietly sits in their shadow, which I think it's such a shame. The notes here include mandarin orange, raspberry, bergamot, orange blossom, blackcurrant, marshmallow, vanilla, amber seeds, and musk. This is a very soft, creamy, citrusy floral, and I mean that in the most beautiful way possible. It is also similar to Love Don't Be Shy, but without being sickly or candy-like. The citruses make this one more sparkling and uplifting and melting into that marshmallow whipped cream base beautifully. This perfume is very happy, pink smelling without being juvenile or cheap smelling. If you like Love Don't Be Shy or candied orange blossom scents, then just give it a try. Now, let's shift things a little and go somewhere a little bit more like darker, more mysterious. The next one is Velvet Orchid from Tom Ford. And this one was released in 2014. And this was basically launched as a companion to Black Orchid. And that is, I think, exactly the problem. Because when you are standing next to Black Orchid, it is very, very difficult to get noticed. Black Orchid is just such a larger than life iconic fragrance, and Velvet Orchid has always lived in its shadow, which I think is deeply unfair. However, I have to admit, I was never really a big fan of Black Orchid. I have always appreciated Velvet Orchid much, much more. The notes here include bergamot, rum, jasmine, rose, orchid, honey, suede, vanilla, peru balsam, and labdanum. It is very rich, warm, and incredibly sensual. Think like Black Orchid's more approachable little sister. The rum and the honey give it this very beautiful, almost edible quality, but it still stays really sophisticated and very elegant. It never really tips into that full gourmand territory. There is something that also reminds me of the creaminess of the Ylang Ylang, but don't be afraid, here the scent doesn't go towards that indolic category. This is absolutely stunning for evening wear, definitely something that you can wear for a night out when you really want to make a statement. Now, Kayali as a house gets a fair amount of attention, but I feel like Invite Only Amber specifically gets a little bit overshadowed by some of their other releases. And this needs to change. The notes are tobacco leaf, sour cherry, honey, chocolate, hazelnut, cinnamon, rose, amber, oud, vanilla, benzoin, and sandalwood. So, yeah, sounds like just something sweet and intoxicating. And it is. But you really need to be a lover of tobacco, as it is definitely the star of the show. I really love how the notes are blended here. It has a lot of very strong notes, but they play together in a perfect harmony. The vanilla and the sandalwood just make the blend also smoother and perfectly unisex. I think this perfume also used to be on some people's favorite list back in the days, but then it seemed that it got discontinued and then suddenly everyone stopped talking about it. I am happy to report that it is available again, so put it on your list to revisit it once the weather turns a little bit colder. As next, I need to talk about a fragrance that I believe the fragrance community abandoned far too soon. And I'm genuinely not going to stay quiet about it. Dior Poison Girl, released in 2016. This had such a huge moment around 2017, 2018, and then the conversation just completely stopped here. The notes are bitter almond, orange blossom, bitter orange, rose absolute, tonka beans, vanilla, and sandalwood. And yes, it is sweet, but it is one of the most sophisticated and beautiful sweet fragrances I have ever come across. The slight bitterness from the almond and the orange balances the sweetness of the vanilla in such a beautiful way. It never becomes cloying or overwhelming. It stays refined, elegant throughout. I also smell the rose quite prominently, and it is not a dated rose. It is a lush, fresh, dark pink or red rose. It smells like a very grown up dessert at a really beautiful restaurant. Very indulgent, but never cheap. If you love sweet fragrances, but sometimes you worry that they come across too young or cheap, then Poison Girl is the one that will completely change your mind. Please do not sleep on this one. Now, here is a fragrance that I feel had its moment completely stolen from its own flankers. It is Valentino's Born in Roma, the original from 2019. So this launched to a lot of excitement, which is absolutely deserved. But then Valentino released flankers after flankers in very quick succession. And somehow the original just got completely buried under all the new releases. Which is a real shame because the original Born in Roma is genuinely beautiful. The notes are here blackcurrant, bergamot, jasmine sambac, bourbon vanilla, gaiac wood, and cashmerian. And it is a very clean, modern, elegant floral. The jasmine sambac is the star of the show, but it is a very clean, almost soapy jasmine, not heavy or not indolic. It is a very chic, fruity floral perfume that has a great longevity and, in general, also gets a lot of compliments. This is something that you can wear during the day. The sweet flirtiness will make it, on the other hand, a great pick for evenings out in the spring or summertime. And lastly, a perfume that also used to have all the hype. But suddenly it was gone. It is none other than Burberry Her. This is the original EDP, which was released in 2018. This was genuinely everywhere when it first came out. It was that fragrance that everyone seemed to be reaching for. And then it just faded into the background. This was basically the fruity version of Baccarat 540. So, you get it. The notes include here strawberry, blackcurrant, blackberry, lemon, jasmine, violet, musk, vanilla, amber, and cashmerian. And before you dismiss it because of the strawberry, wait. The strawberry here is absolutely not that sickly candy shop strawberry you might be imagining. It is very soft, slightly tart, and kind of skin like. And then the amber in the base will give it this gorgeous, warm, musky quality that makes it smell like genuinely part of your own skin. It is one of those fragrances that makes people, to lean a little bit closer just to smell or ask, what are you wearing? Then they look genuinely surprised when you tell them, hey, it is Burberry, because it doesn't smell like any typical high street designer fragrance at all. With the warmer weather we are getting now, I have been reaching for this one again, and I'm honestly so happy that I rediscovered it. It is just perfect for spring. So this was it. 10 fragrances that we should talk more about. What is your good old, maybe forgotten favorite? Share it in the comments. And also, if you like this video, then please give it a thumbs up. And if you still have some more time, I am recommending a video at the end screen that you may want to check out. And until the next time, just keep on smelling good and feeling good. Bye bye.